Hey, what's going on, guys? Battle Nation's Emperor here, back today with another video. And today, guys, we're back in the sandbox to start off a new series, one that I think will be pretty cool, and it is Battle Nations Theory. So, of course, due to the fact that Battle Nations ended so abruptly and was so ambitious even for its time, and heck, even right now, Battle Nations left a lot of things on the table and left us with a lot of mysteries and a lot of questions we never really got answers to. And I want to start off today with what, in my opinion, is the greatest and possibly one of the coolest Battle Nations mysteries, and that is the mystery of the Puppet Master. So, for anybody who might not know, ever since the very beginning of the rebellion, the start, there has been some mysterious, shadowy, sinister puppet master in the background manipulating everything against the Empire to influence it for some unknown means. Now, this might sound crazy, especially if you haven't heard about this, but I want to start where I heard about it. I found this out in this text dialogue right here. This is Ash's wiki on the Wikipedia page, and it reads, later on, and I'm going to throw it up on screen right now if you'd like to read it yourself. You can go pause, be more than welcome, but for anybody who doesn't want to read it, I'll go ahead and read it right now. It reads, later on, in the mission Ash's Last Ride, Perkins reports that the outpost is receiving a coded message from Ash, stating that he wants to defect from the rebel army. In an updated message, Perkins says while en route to the outpost, Ash has been ambushed by rebel forces in the Heartland. Although suspicious, Morgan and Ramsey go to rescue him and meet up with Ash just as rebel forces begin to surround him. In the mission, Catch Them All, a battle ensues, and when the player repels the rebel armies, they find Ash was seriously injured in the battle. When Ash tries to tell Morgan and Ramsey something urgent, they are yet again attacked by a huge wave of rebels. Ash, although seriously injured, fights along with the Imperials. After the battle, Morgan states again Ash needs to be patched up, but Ash responds by saying, I won't be joining you, Lieutenant. My time is up. He continues on to say that someone is manipulating the rebellion. Quote, you are in danger. Much worse than you thought. The rebellion. They're being manipulated. Something else. And they've got it out for you. He warns Morgan that he needs to be careful who he trusts. And then his dialogue ends, signaling his passing. Now, if you're like me when you first read that, you're thinking, oh, cool, I wonder who this mysterious, rebel influencer is. And then you find out they never gave us an answer. So unfortunately, the game ended before they could do it because this update really happened around 2014, 2015, near the end of Battle Nations, and they never got to finish the storyline. So legitimately, we still don't know. And what's creepy is they're all throughout the game. There are multiple cases of them doing stuff like this. Another one I just want to state, and before I get into this one, also I just want to state the trivia for Ash's wiki. It's very important to him because obviously it's how he died. It also states in Ash's trivia right here, I'll throw it up on screen as well. Z2 stated that the reason Ash defected to the rebel side was because he disliked being bossed around by an obnoxious child, which is exactly what the Emperor was. The reason why he wanted to defect back to the Imperial Army was because he realized the rebels were being manipulated by a sinister puppet master. Sinister puppet master. That is a very, very interesting description they give it. And moving right along, as I was saying, they're all throughout the game. Another case they meet us in is with General Salamanca. This, I'm going to throw an image up on him, an image of him up on screen real quick, just in case you guys need to see him. I imagine a lot of you guys probably see him and just immediately snap back to who he is, because I read the name, I had no clue, but I saw the face and I was like, oh yeah, I know that guy. But he is also unfortunately a victim of this shadowy figure, and what happens to him, I'll go ahead and throw it up on screen, but also read it out real quick. Later on, Salamanca and Morgan finally agree on the treaty that would end the war between the rebels and the outpost, as well as opening up new trade routes between the two. However, just before Salamanca can sign the treaty, he clutches his chest and falls to the ground dead, causing Morgan to immediately panic thinking he had a heart condition, but soon realizes he's been assassinated by a shot in the back with an arrow. Salamanca's death immediately leads to the rebels believing that the Imperials killed him, resulting in the rebel army attacking the outpost in full force. Luckily, Floyd arrives with the Spider Wasp Queen, this huge behemoth. If you hadn't seen it, was a huge final boss and it looked awesome. And they come in and saves the outpost just in time. So, as you can see, they don't mind killing people as well, even their own members. And he was a great guy. I mean, he was definitely off, and even Morgan had his moments where he didn't know if he could trust him. But he was on the verge of signing peace with the Imperials, with us, to possibly bring some peace to the region. And right before he can sign the treaty, he is killed with a shot to the back by an arrow. An arrow of all things, probably to conceal a hidden sea, because I imagine a gunshot they probably would have heard. You could probably trace that, but an arrow of all things. And again, while it's never said that the sinister puppet master had to do with this, it's very heavily implied, and I think we all can kind of put two and two together. So, continuing on with this line of logic, I just want to quickly throw up some of these. I don't know what those numbers mean, and I think they might be account IDs, but all Z2 accounts, as we unfortunately know, are long gone. So, I apologize if I'm throwing somebody's old account ID up, but nevertheless, I don't think it matters anymore, especially for Z2 account IDs. But as you can see right here, people absolutely love theorizing about this. People asking who the mastermind is, saying, I don't get it, can you say it more clearly? And then somebody just posting their own theory. Here's another screen grab I got. Somebody theorizing about who's involved, another person talking about who was the shooter. Again, just classic theorizing. If you look at the dates on these are from 2014, 2015. This is from over a decade ago. And it's almost like our own version of the ancient ruins, because I don't think these people care about battle nations anymore, if I'm being honest. They may not even remember battle nations, but I find it so interesting that these people were already wondering who the imperial influencer was, who the manipulator was, and unfortunately they would just never get to see. However, I'll bring that right into the good news. I think that's going to be different for us. I think once Madrona Games gets the full game launched and gets everything out there, I would not be surprised for them to continue most of the storylines, and especially this one, because I feel once the game, of course, comes back out, everybody gets into it, blows up and everything, I feel them continuing with just the storyline would, one, be the best way to step back into it, and especially making new content, but two, it would give closure to the OG fans who, may still care. I just said, oh, these people, probably don't care about the game anymore. Some of them do, because while, I would say 9 out of every 10 players who played, Battle Nations back in 2013 doesn't remember the game or care about it anymore, there's still that 1 in 10 like me, that 1 in 10 like you, that 1 in 10 of us that's still in the Discord, still in the Reddit, still talking about Battle Nations, still in love with Battle Nations, and still, interacting with it, if you will. So I would be very excited to see what Madrona Games does with this, and I by all means would love to see how they decide to play it out. So pretty much, I was trying to nail down who this was because, of course, want to end the video off with I think it's da 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 da, and I love this comment right here. It's so funny. Don't forget that Perkins has no soul, which I love the fact that we've been picking on Morgan for over a decade now. It's just perfect irony. But nevertheless, oh my goodness, could you imagine the plot twist if it was Morgan? Not Morgan, if it was Perkins. That would be unironically insane. However, I don't think it's him just because, again, it's Perkins. He's at the end of the day a sweet, abused kid. However, I do believe there's more to this. And what do I say by that? So let's go through the process of elimination, who we know it's not. I do not think it's Morgan because obviously, I think he's the easiest to knock off. Ash told him not to, trust people. I don't think he'd tell that to the Sinister Puppet Master. I don't think it's Zoe because the Sinister Puppet Master has a inclined interest to cause mayhem and disorder among the continent. And Zoe is trying to raise the three kids. She's trying to raise the Raider kids. She wouldn't want to cause that for them, I feel. I don't think she would go out here trying to, cause mayhem, which if we're being realistic here, could very well kill the Raider kids if they're not careful enough. I think she genuinely loves them, and I don't think she would do that to them. So I don't believe it's Zoe. The only people I genuinely think it could be within our main cast is either Floyd or Ramsey. I think it could be one of these two. And let me just say very clearly, I don't think it's one of them, but if it was somebody in our main cast, I think it would come down to these two boys. Nothing wrong with them, but just, again, Perkins, no offense, not competent enough. He's too young and immature, too sweet. Zoe, as I stated, she has no reason to destabilize the region. But Floyd's very smart. He keeps to himself. And if Floyd wanted to do something like this, he could definitely keep a secret and get away with it, I feel. But then even worse, I was like, oh my goodness, what about Ramsey? Ramsey is literally the head of our, main army, really. I mean, of course, we control the army, we, make the formations and everything, but in lore, he's kind of, our go-to army dude. What if he's compromised? Like, that would be an insane reveal, in my opinion, if it was Ramsey. And that would kind of hurt, too. That would be a lot of mixed emotions. So it'd be pretty cool if it was something like that, but I don't think it's the main cast. So I just want to knock out there, and then I want to give three potential theories on who it might be. First, very easily, it could be somebody we haven't met. I know that's kind of, the lame theory, like, oh man, it's nobody we know. And yeah, it very much could be. There's a very good chance it's a brand new character. The sinister puppet master is somebody we've never seen before, and then they drop him in the game, it's a brand new character, right? Now, I do want to say, in my opinion, this is the weakest of the theories, only because while I completely understand the concept and, it would make sense to kind of introduce a new villain, I don't believe it is simply because of that phrase, what Ash told him. He told Morgan not to trust anybody. He specifically told him, don't trust anybody, just, keep to yourself. I don't think he'd be saying that to somebody Morgan doesn't interact with frequently, especially somebody Morgan doesn't know. So, in my opinion, it has to be somebody we interact with often, at least Morgan interacts with often. So, I don't believe it's a new character, which leads us straight into theory two. What if it's one of the side casts? So, like I said, I don't think it's any of the main cast, but you gotta think there's a lot of characters we interact with. We interact with the Warlord, we interact with Three Core Ridge and the Sheriff, we interact with so many people. Like, you get the point. There's a lot of different side characters, and Morgan knows quite a lot of them. So, while I don't believe it would be anybody in that range, it also wouldn't surprise me if it came out to be the Sheriff of Recoil Ridge. But something about that just isn't satisfying to me. And I know, of course, I don't speak for the fan base, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who would love for it to be the sheriff, especially people who don't like him, so you could kill him. But I don't think it's him because I don't feel that answer would be satisfying, or any of the other side characters, simply because I just don't believe it would be, entertaining, if that makes sense. And then finally, the last theory I could come up with that I saw that I thought had a good potential is, what if it is somebody we know and it's not a side character that comes in very often, but it's somebody Morgan knows. So think about the characters like the other Emperor Hedrick. I'm going to throw images up on them. Emperor Hedrick, his son, and then of course the Emperor. So all three of them are dead. As we know, the Imperial line is, gone. However, it wouldn't surprise me at all if there is maybe a third party, somebody we've seen a handful of times, maybe representing the Empire, that Morgan would know pretty well, that would fit all our criteria, and would have motives to overthrow the Empire, at the very least to stabilize it. I wouldn't be surprised if it's something like the Saboteur. I mean, seriously, think about it. I'm not saying maybe him specifically, but somebody like him. Strictly due to the fact that the rebellion started as a bunch of soldiers, not liking the Imperial Empire and just breaking away. And heck, the Empire would have snuffed them out if it had been for Ash defecting at the last moment and, leading them to victory. However, what stops the Saboteur or somebody else from seeing all of this go down, thinking to themselves, heck, if the rebellion's this loose, why can't I be the leader, and then just going about it? Because it's also stated multiple times in the wiki and in the game that since Ash died and since the Empire fell, the rebellion's in complete chaos, and it makes sense too. I mean, think about it. Their main goal, their entire mission purpose, was to destroy the Empire, the very thing they're rebelling from. Now it's gone. What do you do? It's kind of like in Star Wars, after you kill Palpatine and blow up the Death Star, it's like, fantastic. How do we keep order now? What do we, there's no mission purpose. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if, Saboteur or somebody else simply saw the situation developing and thought to themselves, well, hey, why can't I take advantage of that? As simple as that sounds. And I would say that's probably the most likely theory. Somebody we know, but less than a side character. They're below the sheriff who we see, every other moon, but not to the point where we don't know them. Somebody who we'd recognize the face of. So that's why I say Saboteur, because they just immediately come to mind. But anybody who works for the Empire, I think, would be a very good option. Cassidy also comes to mind. She could potentially be it. I don't think so, because she's a pretty cool sniper girl. I don't think they're going to go. And she's also Ramsey's love interest, so I don't think they would go with that. But you never know. So again, just somebody like that. Because again, I'm really leaning on that factor that he said Morgan can't trust anybody. That's what makes me assured, or at least me personally, I could totally be wrong here. I could be wrong about everything. But I'm pretty sure it's going to be somebody Morgan knows because Ash specifically told him, don't trust anybody. And I think that's going to come back to some kind of betrayal. But yeah, guys, that's kind of all I've got for this video. I really want to discuss this because I'm not going to lie, when I figured out this was a mystery, I got hooked. And then I scrolled through the comments of the wiki and found all of those old comments of people talking about Battle Nations and theorizing it back in 2014, 2015. Literally decades old comments of people just talking about Battle Nations. And I was like, man, this is so cool. And I can't wait for this to happen again. I sound like a broken record, I know, I'm sorry, but seriously, I think Battle Nations has so much potential. Think of what we have right now, this cool beta group, these groups of this small, tight-knit community of YouTubers, the small, tight-knit group we have on Discord and Reddit, and this is what a fraction of what we had in 2013. Battle Nations constantly made the best free app on the App Store multiple times at its peak. So everything we have now legitimately is a fraction of what Battle Nations had back in the day. And as crazy as it sounds, I still don't think that was enough. I think Battle Nations is such a great game. The concept here is so beautiful that once we get back on our feet and we just let it grow naturally, I genuinely don't think it will hit 2013 heights. I think it'll exceed them. I think this game has massive potential, and I would love to see how the story develops. I just hope it develops in a fun and satisfying way for everybody, so old players and new players alike can take joy in it and really just appreciate the story of this very, very unique and awesome game. And with that being said, that will just about do it for us today, guys. Again, just wanted to make this theory video out here just to cover it. If you guys like it, please let me know in the comments down below. If you are new here, please consider dropping a like down below if you liked the video and subscribing to the channel if you are new. As far as the comments, mainly suggestions. I would love for you guys to tell me what you guys would like to see in future theory videos. I have a few in mind, so if you guys can't come up with anything, no problem at all. But I have a few in back pocket, but I would love to cover your guys' theories as well. So whichever you guys would prefer, my theories or yours, no problem whatsoever. And yeah, that will just about do it for us today, guys. Thank you very much for watching this video. I greatly appreciate your viewership. And with all that being said, have a great rest of your day.